All right. All right. Well, my name's Officer John Syme. I work for the Independence Police Department. I've been a police officer for 15 years, almost 15 years. And the last 12 of that, as next month, it'll be 12 years, I've worked for the Independence Police Department.
Mhm.
Right now, my position is the Public Information Officer. I've been doing that for 5 years. Prior to that, I was in a community services unit called, I was a crime prevention officer.
Mhm.
And before that, I worked in the patrol division. In my previous department, I was a corporal, I was a supervisor, and a field training officer. And right now, I'm one of the department's instructors. So I teach racial profiling classes to officers as well as a taser instructor.
Nice. So how did you get to where you are now in your career?
Okay. Well, it, within the career field, are we talking about leading up
Yeah,
to law
leading up
enforcement,
to it,
or?
yeah.
Okay, well, I right out of high school, I went in the Marine Corps. I enlisted in the
Mhm.
Marine Reserves, and I did that while I was in college at the same time. So that helped pay for my education and taught me a lot. I grew up a lot in that time. Um, it wasn't until I was about 22 years old that I decided to go to the police academy at Blue River. So I paid my way
Mhm.
through that while earning college credits. You can earn, I believe it's around 30 college credits in the police academy. So I did that because my goal was to get a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
So I became a police officer with the Excelsior Springs Police Department, and I think I had around 80 something credit hours when I became an officer, but I didn't have my degree yet. But that was a goal of mine. So as an officer, I took classes online. I went to classes on my free time, and I did finish my Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice Administration. That was from Park University, while working in Excelsior Springs.
Awesome.
Um, yeah. I can,
So
later on, there's more education stuff too. We can talk about that.
yeah, yeah.
Your questions. Talk about
So thinking about your daily work, what is your favorite part of your job?
Well, there are a lot of opportunities in police work, and
Mhm.
one thing about it is that there's constant change. There are always new opportunities. Both you see good and bad, and
Mhm.
but let me see here. Are you focusing on which part again? Say that again.
So what is your favorite part of your job? And then the
Favorite
next
part.
question is, what is the not as enjoyable part of your job?
Okay. Well, I would say the favorite part of my job is knowing that I've walked away making some kind of positive difference.
Yeah.
And that could happen in a variety of ways. In my job right now, it's about providing information, letting people know what's happening with the police department.
Mhm.
When it comes to a call for service as a patrol officer, it's going away with a solution to whatever the problem is. People don't call the
Mhm.
police when they're having a good day. Most of the time, our interactions aren't even necessarily proactive. They're because people need help. And a lot of times we're called when someone has no one to turn to, and it may not even be a violation of the law. It may not even be something that is police work, but we
Mhm.
go there to help people out. I've been dispatched to calls to help an elderly lady find her cat under her couch.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's we're there when people need us.
Mhm.
So I think that when I can feel like I've walked away making a difference, then it's a good day.
Awesome. So you already talked a little bit about your past jobs and how you started off. What was your first job? And like, what did you learn from that experience?
My first job was working in a grocery store while I was in high school.
Mhm.
I was a sacker, and then I became a cashier, and then I stocked shelves. I think a really important thing I learned in that job was simply communicating with people, uh,
Mhm.
getting out getting out of my comfort zone and being able to talk to people. It could be something simple. I mean, you really engage when you get out in the workforce,
Mhm.
and that really can prepare you for all types of jobs. But I think the most important thing to be a police officer is being able to communicate with people,
Yeah.
and that goes into later on with de-escalating situations, trying to come from a peaceful resolution without any type of force. And sometimes that involves taking people to jail, of course. And I
Mhm.
think getting to know people and just talking to people in that job was the biggest thing that helped me.
Mhm. So we talked a little bit about your college. So what did your education pathway look like?
Okay, I would definitely say it was non-traditional.
Hmm.
I did not do a 4-year college degree directly out of high school.
Yeah.
I went to Marine boot camp a week after I graduated high school,
Hmm.
and then after that summer, I did go right into freshman year at CMSU. So I started to get my undergraduate credit hours, but that was right after 9/11. So
Yeah.
my unit was activated. Um, about I had to go do some additional training, so I wasn't able to continue with that traditional path.
Hmm.
Um, During my time in the Marine Reserves, that's when I went back to MCC in Blue River and got a lot of my undergraduate hours there. Decided to go into law enforcement and then finish my bachelor's degree later on while I was a police officer. And about 3 years after that, I decided to pursue a master's degree. So I did get a Master of Science in Criminal Justice as well. And I just worked on that in my spare time.
That's pretty cool. So next question is, what do you define success?
Personally, I know we're talking about occupational perspectives, but I think you have to be able to do a job that you're happy with, that you can come home
Yeah.
at the end of the day knowing you're providing for your family, and that it's a good day. It's a good job to do that. I know a lot of people who really don't like what they do, and sometimes that's a lifelong struggle of not being happy
Hmm.
with your job. But I know that I can come home, I can provide for my family, and come home safe. Those are my two
Yeah.
things that I know is successful as a police officer. But also, I know that I'm serving my community. You know, I do feel some pride in what I do, despite
Hmm.
some of the negative things that you hear about police work. Kind of going back a little bit, you asked about like the favorite part of the job, but I don't think we covered the not favorite part. So I'm going to
Yeah.
throw that out there real quick. The not favorite part of being in police work is being judged and stereotyped based on what other officers have done
Hmm.
negatively in other communities, maybe in our community, but mainly, far away. Something an officer made a bad decision they made or an action they've taken, and we're highly stereotyped and we're highly critiqued in our job.
Hmm.
And I think part of that has to do with just American culture and our obsession with law enforcement, police work, CSI, detective shows, where a lot of people have opinions about what they think we should do,
Hmm.
and we have high stress situations. And I think that unfortunately that's affecting the way a lot of people view getting into law enforcement now. So I think we're having a hard time recruiting officers, but it's a great field to get into. But you can't let that stuff affect you. But that is the negative thing, and I think we should all be honest about that.
Yeah. So we have students that, like, if students are wanting to get prepared for the job field you're in,
Yeah.
what is some advice that you would give them?
Um, I would say if they're looking to get into law enforcement or really any public service field, staying out of trouble is a really big
Yeah.
thing. We really dive into people's background. We do
Hmm.
extensive background checks. Say stay away from drugs, illicit drugs. We're flexible with some things if mistakes were made, because we know no one's perfect. I
Yeah.
know everyone wants a Superman image of a police officer showing up who's never made a bad decision, but that's not realistic. We're regular people,
Hmm.
and really we want our police force to be representative of the people in our community. We want a diverse police force. But I would say focusing on education is really important, and you can get that through a lot of ways. I say civilian education, getting those pieces of papers, those degrees is really important. But we want people who have street smarts. We want people with job experience, and we have people who join our department after they've spent 20 years in the Air Force or maybe
Hmm.
15 years as a postal worker, and they say, I want to be a cop. I want to be out there, and I want to
Yeah.
be a police officer and serve my community. So there really isn't one path. But we want, and like that communication piece is really important as well. You need to be able to talk to people. Years ago, we joke about some of the police departments. You had to be like 6 foot tall and just a really big dude, because that's all they
Hmm.
needed. They needed big, tough guys to kick in doors and arrest bad guys. The world is not
Hmm.
that simple. Um, we need people who can talk to people. We need
Yeah.
communicators and problem solvers, and and people who need to realize that other people just live differently. People have different home environments, and as a police officer, you go into people's homes and you see things that you've never seen before. So um, life experience is really important. 21 years old, you can be a police officer, but sometimes it takes people a couple more years to get a little more mature to
Yeah.
be able to do the job. And sometimes that maturation process happens while they're a police officer. Sometimes it doesn't work out for them because they're a bit overwhelmed. So I have a nephew who's interested in doing this, and he's 22 years old. I said, "You've got time, man. You go get out there and live your life, learn about the world, get an education. Come and see us later when you feel that you're ready, and we'll provide that 6-month police academy, and then the further field training period while you're out there on the road, and it'll open the door to all different opportunities in law enforcement."
Awesome. Well, Officer Sim, I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you for taking interest in helping support students. Yeah, it's
Cool, Josh.
the kids here are the future of America. So
That's
I
right.
appreciate you interviewing.
Hey, it's my pleasure, man. Best of luck with
All right.
this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Have a good one.